Hello, we're back. I did actually say on Monday's pod that I thought we'd be back next Monday. That's because I totally forgot that we had a game on Wednesday night, and I wish I'd forgotten that we had a game on Wednesday night. But we did have a game on Wednesday night, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that with James Robbins. Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, not bad.
Good. And we are going to talk about it with Jake Robson, who's not here yet. It's just an empty chair. Jake is flying around the North Cirque as we speak, and we'll be in en route. We'll be in soon. So just now, at the moment, James, it's me and you. Hello to people. Look, we've already got comments. People
love that.
Have been queuing up. We came in today, and we already had people in our comments, which is really nice to see. We'll come to some of them because they're about the game itself. Martin Workman has got up at 9:35 this morning and is angry. Get rid of him. I assume he's talking about Ange. Jay, yeah, we did get rid of Jay.
It's late, so yeah.
Again, Hotspur Sam's been on talking about the game. We'll come back to it. Louis Stevenson, Johnny's tweet yesterday was spot on. I mean, that happens every now and then. I'm not sure which tweet that was, though. But again, we'll come back to some of these. And Louis then says, good morning. Good morning. And Stanley Lou says, no to Martin. Don't get rid of him. Do it at the end of the season. Yeah. Again, we'll come to all of this stuff. As you can see, the title is...
Yeah, what's that about?
I don't know.
What are you not sure of?
I don't think...
I think you're very sure of where you're at.
I'll say that the title of this pod, I don't want to do any disservice to our wonderful producer, James, but I think he forgot to change it. I think he was... we once had a book, a stats book when I worked at Sky, and the guy had normally had a whole load of league tables at the front, and in one edition, it just wrote, remember to put in league tables. And he forgot to put in the league tables, so the book went to print. And the bloke who printed it, it's a bit like that, Go Fuck Yourself, San Diego, on whatever that film's called, my memory's gone. He just wrote, the printer's just gone, okay, yeah, remember to put in league tables.
It's like the, I can't remember what footballers... who it was.
Jodie
tweet something like this. They just copy and pasted the whole thing.
Yeah.
Before, I think early days of social media for footballers, not their managers didn't have their login details, had to do it themselves.
Tweet something like this. No, that wasn't Lescott. Lescott was the one who tweeted from his pocket.
And each of you.
Tweet something like this.
That's a Barclays man right there.
So I think that's what's kind of happened with our title this week, but whatever. It kind of works because, I'm not sure on Ange. Well, I know I'm sure on Ange. All right, there's not much club news, but something that did happen this week is that our overlord, Ange Postecoglou, said something about assists on the back of the Dane Scarlett assist. And something that if you've been watching this pod for a while, or if you're new to this pod, despite being a football statistician by trade, I have a problem with assists. I think Kulusevski's assist for Kane's free kick against Brentford a few years ago, Kulusevski gets an assist for that. He didn't do he didn't do anything. I could have come down from the West Stand and rolled that to Kane.
Yeah.
And obviously Vertonghen for Son. And Vertonghen jokes about it.
He takes the piss out of it all the time.
Yeah.
Tom Carroll to Gareth Bale for the 35-yarder against West Ham as well. They're not really assists. You can't take assist in isolation sometimes because there's 5-yard passes that lead to a goal, and that 5-yard pass could be a really great through ball, but it could just be Vertonghen to Son.
Yeah.
But I have a bone to pick because it's so infuriating being in the WhatsApp group, then not on the show, and then not being able to fight your corner.
Right.
Gary saying that Scarlett's assist was Vertonghen to Son is outrageous.
No, I'm having that. Jake Robson's
outrageous.
Here. Jake Robson's here. Thanks for coming. Gets away with it because he's wearing an Echo of Glory cap. Hi. Go on. We're talking about. Go on, James.
I like that. I want one of those hats.
You can get a cap.
Let's get.
Yeah, everybody can get a cap.
Buy one.
Can they still?
Cheeky.
Yeah, they're out there.
Or did they sell out?
Good point. Yeah, we have to speak to our stockist.
Are they still there? Available to buy?
Yeah, they're out there on our channels.
Sorry, I missed the opening 7 minutes.
Talking about assists, go on, James, carry on.
Yeah, I think the Scarlett was a great flick. He could have headed that back to the defenders, but if you watch him, he's fully seen the run, fully intended. Yeah, it's not one of Sonny's assists in the same game, but it's also not Vertonghen to Son for Burnley. Yeah. I think it leans more to a true assist.
Okay,
I thought it was great from Dane, and but Ange's right. Assists are a silly stat in isolation.
Obviously, and then something came up this morning when I was at home on TikTok. There's a guy on Twitter who watches, an American guy who watches like famous football matches, claiming he's never watched them before. I think he probably has, but he's found a thing on TikTok that works. And
Where's he from?
America.
Oh, what does he know then?
Well, he just, there you go. God. Because your Jake Sanders
That's not my opinion, but
Jake Sanders moment where you get everyone angry at you.
That's what people say.
Anyway, so he watched the Amsterdam game, the Ajax game. I know this was an assist Llorente. Did Llorente mean that for, I think it was someone else was running in. Was it Dele? Or did he mean it to Mora? Or was he just putting the ball into an area?
I'd need to see it again.
Oh, he was flicking it on.
Was he just flicking it on?
He was big man flick on to whoever's running in behind.
Yeah.
For sure.
I don't mind a bit of luck in that game, though, to just kind of put Ajax to the sword a bit more.
Yeah.
Just puts them down if he didn't mean it.
Yeah.
My friend Jake always used to refer to him as the tree.
Tree?
The tree.
Llorente.
He was like a tree. He was always up there.
Stanley Lou says, Jake, thanks for coming. It's been a while since you've been on.
Hey, Stanley.
What's been happening? Where you been? Oh, this is Bruts. I'm first. Okay, this is weird now. As soon as you come in, Bruts 80 is on. Bruts 80 was the guy on Monday who said we need more Jake Robson. I'm
there
sure.
There you
of
go,
that.
Bruts.
Is it really Bruts 80 or is it your mum or your dad? Because he doesn't comment until you came in.
I think can you leave my parents out of this one?
Well, you've got a fan. You've got a fan.
Have a look at the iPad to see if he's messaging in it himself.
No, don't look. It's actually my nan. Morning, nan. It's not really. Bruts, nice to see you. Checks in the post.
I hope I'm not doing Bruts a disservice here, but I'm fairly sure that was the one guy we've had who wanted more Jake Robson.
Well, speaking of fans, bumped into the most recent friend of the show last night. Sim. In the goal line bar, in the south stand. He was just there, people coming up to him wanting pictures.
And you were one of them.
And I was one of them. Yeah. Absolutely. He said he had a whale of a time on here and he loved coming on.
We loved having him on.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Really good listen.
We'd have to call him friend of the show. We're going to get shouted at.
Oh, you have to. He's been on the show. So
he owns the show, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He owned the last show, that's for sure.
He certainly boosted the show. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Where have I? When was? I'm trying to remember when the last time I was on. I don't know. Can't remember. Had we beaten Brentford? Maybe. Possibly.
Last time you were on was probably when you hosted when I didn't come on, which would have been after a win. So
was it Brentford?
Yeah, possibly.
Maybe.
All right.
Yeah. Well, I've been all over the place. Was in Spain playing golf. Oh. Hello, Matt.
All right. That sounds nice.
I tell you, a shout out show, mate.
I tell you,
Capital Radio.
Capital Radio. Well, in true Capital Radio fashion, I'm going to mention glorious weather because, anyone that knows, if you haven't been to south of Spain in February, it's 19 degrees.
Mill Hill, mate.
Sunshine every day.
Good old Mill Hill.
Golf courses beautiful.
You're deflecting from the real topic here.
My friend just moved to Malaga as well for work. Very jealous of him.
Yeah,
moved
very
from
jealous.
Ireland to Malaga.
Yeah. The real question is, what do you think of assists?
Don't mind them.
Can live with them. Can live without them.
Yeah, basically. I get what Ange was saying. He's right in a sense, isn't he? But what if then someone does something really good? Then what?
I just think they should be actual assists. It's a hill I've been dying on professionally.
If you meant it, yeah.
I think there's a point with assists of volume, right? If a player's getting over 10 a season, then probably the majority of them are intentional.
Yes.
They're in the areas to do it.
Yeah.
If someone's got 2 or 3, then you want to watch those assists. You know what I mean? Like you want to, and also you may want to compare it to chances created. You want to compare it to minutes. You want to see the forwards missed chances. It's reckless is too strong a word, but it's reckless to take stats in isolation. You need to kind of combine them with others to actually get a truer picture of the situation. And assists on their own are silly. And it's like someone's already mentioned Brennan was awful. Goals are the most important, and judging goals is not, as weirdly, probably not a barometer if you're a great technical footballer, but obviously it's the most important part of the game. Boy scores goals. If you look into his stats, can't do anything else.
Yeah, well, that's the conversation we've had so many times. As Barry says in our comments.
Sonny, I mean, how many assists? He's equal third, I think, for assists, or was before this game week.
Yeah.
Has he had a good season?
Not great.
But I would say that his assists are intentional.
Well, fine,
but I agree.
But the point is, Yeah.
Right. Barry Kennan says, isn't Gary on? I thought he would have been here ranting about Brennan. Yeah, we've had him in the WhatsApps. Gary's away this weekend. Right, should we go straight into last night?
He's in the Lake District.
Yeah.
Dead posh, that.
Yeah. Right.
Glamping.
Yeah, glamping.
What was it? What's
Glamping Gary.
We should go live to Gary at the Lake District. But we're not going to. We're going to talk about Spurs Man City instead. So, the lineup was interesting. That got everybody going. Vicario in goal. Right back, Porro. Gray, Danso on the left-hand side of the back four, centrally. Udogi left back. In front of them, Bergwijn, Bentancur, Maddison, Johnson, Tell, Odebrecht. Let's start with those who didn't play. Kulusevski, Spence, and Son were the guys rotated from Ipswich. And people were angry. And people were angry, the angry people, saying you've moaned about him not rotating all season, and now he's rotating. Why are you moaning? My opinion...
Good moaning.
In my opinion, people like to moan. And I'm one
how
of
would
those
you know
people.
about?
Yeah, we all do it.
This is a public space for us to moan.
Yeah. My opinion was I think he over-rotated, and if we were at home to...
Like a broken wheel.
if we were at home to, with respect, Southampton and Ipswich, Leicester, I know we've lost to both of those at home this season, but I feel like he could have got away with it. I want to beat Man City, and I think you start. I just know. No, I think he was also making a point. Look at me, I've got everyone back. Look what I can do. Well, you didn't do it enough between.
I think this is too cynical.
Nah, I think he over-rotated.
I loved the lineup.
Yeah,
I was really excited by it. I think it showed confidence in the squad. We're really only...
I'm sorry, I'll come back. Hotspur Sam, a moan a day keeps a doctor away. That should be... What's the Latin
That's
for
the
that?
most British thing I've ever
No,
heard
that
in
should
my
be...
life.
Instead of Audere es facere, that should be translated to Latin and be on the Spurs
Just
badge.
make that the Echo of Glory Latin motto.
Yeah, go on.
But no, yeah, I think it's easy to say in retrospect, they rotated and that's why we lost. Whereas for weeks, everyone's saying Kulusevski can't do anything, he's tired. And Son's needed a rest for ages as well. So
I think I agree with you on there. I think people were annoyed about Spence, especially when you see who City
Spence
have
is
got.
fair.
We all knew that Docker was just going to go past Porro.
So that's literally my only complaint.
I think that was
with
the main
lineup
complaint that people had.
But I think Spencer's played a lot of consecutive minutes. Porro's had a bit of a rest in the last couple of games. He's had 45 minutes here and there.
Yep.
Let's not get it twisted. Porro, when he joined, was defensively awful. He is massively improved. Like, Doku is probably the best dribbly winger in the world at dribbling. Maybe not the best winger in the world, but at dribbling he probably is.
Big call.
And there's no guarantee Spence isn't done. Like, Doku does that to the best fullbacks in world football. So part of me is like, Spence could easily have been, and Spence has done a really hilarious Instagram reply to Doku.
Yeah.
He said, we'll meet next time to him.
Well, I think that's
which is great.
Yeah, but deep down, I think Spencer's probably annoyed he didn't get a chance to play against him.
And that's what you want. That's what you want. But I think for me, that's the only possible complaint. In terms of Son and Kulusevski out, it was the first opportunity to do it. And I think if you start them both, you get the Son and Kulusevski you've had recently, which is poor, bar Ipswich, where they were just terrible. Can
I stop? I agree with you, by the way. What Binny guy, with all due respect, stop insulting fans. Who's insulting fans? Who's he talking about?
I see. And then he's gone for caps. Does that mean he's angry?
Yeah. I see BetMGM bookmakers pulling strings all over the map. This club is pathetic. I don't know who's criticising who.
I know what he's talking about.
No, I'll explain anyway.
I don't think that. I don't even think it's hindsight to say that when you looked at that lineup of a front line of Johnson, Odebrecht, and Tell, City are pretty happy with that. And I get what you're saying about an individual, Spence, Kulusevski, Son, but to I think not play all three of them who. With the weakening, Spence has basically been our best player for the last 4 or 5 weeks. Yeah. And both Son and Kulusevski to be on the bench against Man City at home.
Over-rotated.
I think it was
one too many.
I think it was one too many. You look at that and you like, especially as we don't play until next Thursday. That's the other thing. If there was a game at the weekend, you can't really fault any rotation if there's a game on Saturday or Sunday. We're not playing until next Thursday. Like, are you not better off having Son and Kulusevski or one of them on for 60 minutes rather than just for 30 at the end? Or 45 possibly. And do half and half. You know, Odebrecht hasn't played. Obviously, was this his first start since coming back?
First start
in September.
Yeah.
Everton game.
Well, a Man City, it's not really the game for it, is it?
For me, I thought he was really promising. I mean, the first half.
Yeah, he was, but ultimately,
I don't think the lineup is actually where the issues were. I don't think it changes that much with Son and Kulusevski.
It's not it's not a front three that can go toe to toe with City.
I'd have argued to have. I really like Tell. I don't think he was brought in to be a striker, and I maybe would have actually preferred Son up top, which is sacrilege most of the time. Not something I normally would want, but
I can see that.
Just take him out the firing line. But Son and Decky have been two players that got pelters for ages now, and have looked like they can't contribute.
But as Jake said, we're 8 days away from the next game.
Yeah, and say this is the game Kulusevski finally gets it. I think Kulusevski, bar his goal, was crap against Ipswich, and he's been rubbish for a while.
You had a go at me on Saturday for saying that.
I don't mind that he was rubbish. I had a go that you said tiredness isn't the excuse.
Right.
Only Gary's allowed to hit the desk.
Someone's got to in his absence.
I just think that if you're, I get what you're saying on an individual player basis. I totally. But the fact that they both were on the bench, if you're City, you're pretty happy with that. If you're City, you've got Tell, who's not a number 9, playing as a number 9. You've got Odebrecht, who hasn't started since September and is probably his third or something start in the club since he moved.
That's for sure.
And Johnson, who has, he scored in the last 2 games fine, and he's out on the right. So, yeah, I think City would have been pretty. They would have looked at that and gone, all right,
fine. But at the same time, I'm looking at Matheus Nunes, a right back, going,
absolutely.
I don't think we did enough. Come to the game itself. Not that I've seen it. Disclaimer: I was out last night. I've seen bits.
Oh yeah, where?
That's my daughter's birthday.
How old?
I can't reveal that. Young. 12.
She's not that old. She's not got to the point where you're not allowed to reveal her age.
12. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Steve Hayes says, the truth is no rotation Ange gets attacked, with rotation gets attacked. He still has exhausted players. He still has players on light training. What do you expect? Yeah, I said that. But again, it's a game of opinions. We do this pod and we have social media and we do this so we can have our opinion. Don't make us right. We're just giving our opinion. I personally think he over-rotated. Other people will say otherwise. That's my opinion. People will have theirs. It's kind of why we do the show and allow you to comment. Nobody is right. It doesn't mean that just because Ange did it, he is the manager. Doesn't make him right. He will say he was right, but we're entitled to knock him down.
I mean, for all we know, Sonny and Decky were completely in the red zone and about to snap a hammy. Who knows?
Yeah. All right, but that is how we started. Talk to me. Like I say, you were there, Jake, James. I suspect you. I don't know. Were you there?
Watched it at home.
First half. Again, I've seen the short highlights now. Give you an indication that City, I think, almost on the back of what you said, Jake, were happy with what they saw, and tried to capitalise on it. Didn't quite capitalise on it because they only went 1-0 up and stayed 1-0. Could have been 3 or 4 before half time. What was the mood like in the ground during the first half?
Well,
I was just saying, it seemed really quiet from TV.
It was really quiet.
I think that's because I think someone might have been Pilch said it, and a few people on Twitter during the half were saying, if you're going to chuck league games away, can you let us know? Because we're not going to bother. Like, if you're not going to bother, well, we're going to bother. And I think that's a natural reaction to looking at the changes when you see 3 key players, Spence, Kulu, Son, not in it. We all want to see these young players, but I think the atmosphere was a little bit flat. Like, I remember when Bentancur came back in the lineup end of 2023 when he'd been injured, or 2023 against. Again, I can't remember. My memory's just gone. He came back for a game, and the whole ground just lifted because we had a key player back at that time.
Yeah, I remember that.
Sometimes when you go to a game, you look at the lineup and did it feel just a bit flat?
Well, for a start, it wasn't even that busy in and around the concourse. It's like normally the South Stand bar, when I bumped into Sim, it was about 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes before the game.
Yeah.
And normally it's packed in there, people singing and stuff. You can't move, you can't get food. It's, there's people everywhere.
Yeah.
It wasn't the case last night, so I don't know. But the ground seemed full, so I don't know if people just came and went to their seats, weren't that bothered, weren't that up for it. Yeah, and when the game got going, one thing I noticed, and I've never noticed this at Tottenham before, maybe it's because of where I sit, and often, although I have a season ticket, around where I am is a lot of people who don't have season tickets. But a lot of the people around me were shouting at the players to get the ball forward when they were passing it around at the back, which I was absolutely astounded at because
it irritates me so much.
Well, firstly, isn't this what we've been crying out for, actually, for us to take a breath and actually not just get the ball forward, mate, as fast as we can. And some of our best performances this season have been against City at home in the League Cup, and remind me a couple of others when we've sat in and actually soaked it up a bit. The Liverpool Carabao Cup first game, this kind of thing. The anger at not at passing the ball around at the back or passes into midfield and back. Have I missed something here? I haven't been to a home game for one reason or another since the Liverpool game, which we know what happened at the Liverpool League game, the 6-3. So I don't know if things have changed within the stadium, but that was something that really surprised me. All of a sudden, having been before complaining that we're trying to get the ball forward too much and play at 90 miles an hour, now we were maybe trying to take the sting out of it a bit and be a bit more thoughtful. Suddenly people aren't happy with that.
It's funny you mention it because it's my friend's dad always says about get it forward. And it's funny, I believe Ange said in the post-match that one of the problems of the first half was the team were trying to just straight lines forward too quick. And we like to attack quick, but sometimes you can't do it. It's about choosing your moment. But we lost the ball a lot in the first half, pumping it forward.
Absolutely. So I don't know. That was something that really surprised me.
You allowed your opinion, James, because our friend, I don't know if people go in our comments, a guy called Peter Kehagas, don't like us very much. Too many experts that never touched a football. Well, I don't know what you want. I'm sorry, I haven't played professional football. Anyway,
to be honest, I think ex-pros are often the worst pundits around. To be honest,
I work with a lot of these guys, but sometimes just because you've played the game, again, doesn't make you right, doesn't make you wrong. This is a podcast of opinions, a couple of opinions based on what.
To be fair, we don't tend to get many ex-players coming on the pod to talk, so he's probably got a point.
People talk about TV shows a lot and they don't make them, so it's the same thing.
A few comments, and we talked about this last week. King Akpabayo says we're 2 passes away from conceding a goal. Yep. I think Pilch said the same thing. We've talked about it before, and when John McKenzie came on, we talked about how we are 2 passes away from a goal. The City goal wasn't necessarily that, but when City played Liverpool last week, City spent the entire game taking on Robson. It was Doku v Robson. But what they did, Doku beat Robson every time, like you said, one of the most skillful attacking wingers in the game. He will go past your fullback. So
and then do nothing.
Right, but he probably would have gone, arguably he would have gone past Spence 50% more than whatever. We don't know because Spence wasn't playing. Yeah. But what Liverpool did was, every time Doku crossed it, Konate or Van Dijk were there to cut the cross out. They were like, you can beat Robinson, you ain't getting this ball. I know Haaland wasn't playing. You ain't getting this ball to Marmoush, whoever. It's not happening. And it barely happened. Their goal, and they could have scored 2 or 3 of that in the first half, skips round our fullback, crosses it in, Haaland taps it in. It's too soft. Too soft. Yeah,
the goal starts from Danzo's pushed up. I really like him. And I think he's an excellent third choice when we have Mickey and Romero fit.
I don't know. I think he could be pushing one.
Absolutely not.
No,
absolutely not.
Why?
He's not as good at progressing the ball as Romero. Romero maybe want to be the best in football at that, and he's not got the recovery pace of Van der Ven. I'd probably like to see him compete with Van der Ven more than I think Romero, to be honest. But
if Romero's here,
that's a different question, absolutely. But I really like Danzo, but he had a stinker, absolute stinker.
Do you think?
I think he was awful. He was second to everything, and for the goal, it starts with him stepping up. Yeah. And this is one thing where, again, a difference between him and Romero. Romero is really good. People often say he's rash. He hasn't got a red card obviously he's been injured, but he hasn't had a red card in ages when playing. He really has curbed that, seemed to have matured a bit. But when he steps up to a midfielder or whatever, I'm confident 9 times out of 10 he's gonna get the ball or at least push it back the other way.
Or kick him 6 foot up in the air.
One of them. Danzo gets turned too easily, and then Bentancur makes a real poor effort at interception, and then there's space. And then the ball goes out to the left. Porro gets done, which he did. He improved in the second half, but he was Doku had him on toast first half. And then Haaland was just free in the box, no one marking him. Danzo was in no man's land. Gray was ball watching. No one was looking over their shoulder. He kind of appeared in front of Udogi.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, Danso was probably the main fault of the goal. Really poor, and also like I thought our press was a bit different this game. I thought we kind of did a block instead of a press, a high block, and then the distances. I've tried to pay attention to that since John talked about it, and I thought they were less. We still asked Tell to cover 2 centre backs, but we laid off the press, and I didn't feel like we got cut through as much as possible until that second part of the first half. Where we looked really off it. But yeah, for the goal, yeah, Danso really at fault. I thought he struggled.
I don't think he struggled the rest of the game.
Second half, I think everyone improved.
On the ball, he made a couple of... There was one in the second half where he ended up around the penalty area having... Was it in the first half, maybe? He went past a couple of guys and we're thinking, go on, big KD.
Oh, I love his runs forward.
Yeah.
They're really good.
Yeah,
he's a good player.
With the ball. I think he's also very composed. I think he knows his game at 27, having come in. I was thinking, actually, in terms of signings, centre-back signings, defensive signings that we've made over the last few years, I think he could be right up there in terms of being somebody that can just come in and play, sit in... be put straight into that defence. No nonsense. You're not worried about him. Knows his game. 100%. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
You've sort of highlighted his shortcomings, but I would argue that perhaps if you put all his attributes together, overall, he may score at least as well as, or if not higher than someone like Romero. Yes, he's not maybe as good on the ball, but I think he's calmer. I think he's more composed. I think he organises the defence better. Danso, the guy's ice cool. Yeah, absolutely.
He's not as good under pressure as Romero.
On the ball,
absolutely not.
But Romero. So we might say Romero's better on the ball, but I would argue that perhaps it's sort of across the board that he might.
Romero's not been
in the air. He's pretty good.
I wonder whether I think Romero falls asleep.
Yeah,
I think Danso's more switched on.
One thing I saw yesterday with Danso was something I saw when watching some clips of him before he joined was he's quite quick to, if he's going to get beat, to put 2 hands on a player and push him over.
Okay,
he's quite quick to make a foul, and I saw that once or twice against better opposition. Look, don't get me wrong. I think in terms of
you're going to get called out for thinking Danso's rubbish, but
I don't think he's rubbish.
I think Danso's really good, and I think for a third choice centre back, I don't think we've had. And this is early days, but I'd argue we haven't had one as good for a long time. I don't think I liked Davinson Sanchez, but the drop off from Vertonghen and Alderweireld was massive.
Yeah,
I think the drop off we've had to Dragishin has been absolutely humongous. I really like Archie Gray. He's an 18-year-old midfielder playing at centre-back, performing really well. But again, it's an 18-year-old midfielder playing at centre-back. Danso is the third choice I think we've been crying out for since, I don't know, mid-10s, 2015, 14. I don't even know. Kirikesh was the third choice at one point. He was terrible.
Yeah.
I said to my mate Joe that I was at the game last night. It shows
you're doing shout-outs again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Subtly.
Shout out FC. It shows you what you get when you sign a defender or a player even who's 27 and not 21. He can come in and just fit right in, and he'll, as you're saying, he's at worst he's our best third choice centre back
for a long time.
Yeah, but that's what happens when you sign someone who's 27. Because
he's experienced.
You know what you're getting. You're not signing potential, somebody who needs to be moulded or shaped into a better player. But
it's not just experience. Yeah, but it's just experience definitely helps. Like his 100%.
Not experience, but like his game is formed. You know, this whole experience. Yeah, experience comes with that.
We've bought a defender that can defend, run backwards. That is something we really need. And also, the problem with Dragisson has been cannot play out. We've bought a centre-back that has the attributes to play. We've bought a centre-back which we looked to... it felt like he fell into our lap, but I hope we scouted him, that has the attributes to fit in this squad. He can play on the ball.
Yeah, he's better on the ball than Dragisson, as Daniel Pincus says here. Michel Lawrence makes a point.
Freak as well.
He does constantly sort of drift out of the ball... just out of defence with the ball. You don't see Van Dijk, Kanate, Gabriel Saliba doing that. That might be part of the way we play. I think against Ipswich... when they hit the bar with a header right early on, Ipswich came from Danso getting caught out in an awkward position, sort of almost on the left wing. It wasn't a foul, actually. Referee gave a free kick, and it wasn't a foul. He won the ball. I think just needs to temper it a little bit. Like you say, I want to move on from Danso.
I think he had a poor game yesterday.
Yeah, that's fine. Again,
it's not like deeper than that, to be honest.
Yeah, but he absolutely is a really, really good cover on the right. I don't think he's a left centre back. First half.
So that's where I've a big bugbear in the chat. Yeah. Why do we want to start Archie Gray, who's had his best time at right back? When he's played at DM, he's played right-sided defensive mid in a double pivot.
Yeah.
We want him at left centre back when Danzo has played left centre back.
Yeah, you have to put the more experienced player there as well.
I do not think his performances have been different. I mean, he's only played like 3 games. I don't think we're going to see much difference between him on the right and left. I just think he can do both. I think he will. I
think he can do both, but I think he's definitely. If you asked him as well, he'd be like, "I want to play right."
Yeah,
but he'll do a job on the left. Anyway, first half we have 2 shots. They have 7. They had 15 touches in our box. We had 8 in theirs. Wasn't a good first half. Start of the second half was a little bit similar. Actually, we started the second half quite well, from what I understand. Then he chucked the cavalry on after about an hour. What did he do?
We picked up before everyone came on. I mean, if we look at I love a momentum bar. If you look at the momentum bar, the first half is...
I thought that was like something it's got nuts in it and carrots, caramel.
Raisins.
Protein after a workout. It was, first half was all City, and then second half was all us, and that is exactly what the eye test showed as well, I think.
So he chucked on Son, Kulusevski, Spence, and Sarr. Out went Bentancur, Tell, who we'll talk about in a minute. Hang on. Odebrecht and Maddison. No, Maddison went off a bit later. Udogi went off. What changed?
I'll tell you what. That you wouldn't have picked up on the highlights or not watching on telly or whatever. The mood and the lift that it gave the crowd when Spence not only was stripped off and ready to go, but when he came on, you've never seen a left back come on and give the crowd such a hype, probably since Roberto Carlos's testimonial or something. It's just weird, you know? Well, I mean, I get it, but also at the same time, like, he's just, I was shocked. It sort of tells you a bit where...
I'm still picturing Roberto Carlos. That must have been a great occasion.
What, his testimonial?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Celebrities and everything.
Do you remember it?
I don't remember it. Go
on. Soccer Aid. No, yeah. I was just really. I mean, it was nice to see, but it kind of shows you where the feeling is at the moment in amongst the fan base, that the happiest and most up for it everybody got was when Jed Spence was replacing Udogi at left back. You know,
so the crowd gets a lift. The crowd gets a lift.
Crowd did get a lift, and he came on and he did a couple. And to be fair, when a player, firstly, when he's given that kind of ovation, and when he can clearly tell that the crowd are really behind him, he's obviously playing with confidence, and he just comes on and he's sort of bossing his area of the pitch from the second he comes on. He's obviously playing with so much confidence, which is great, and he's the kind of player that, because he's so naturally talented, a bit of confidence running through him, and he's just bossing it basically. Which again made me sort of think, well, it's a bit of a shame he didn't start, but we've done that.
If you would, as Johnny didn't see the game, if you go on and looked at Spence's stats, you'd be like, oh, that's rough. Like 2 failed dribbles.
Yeah, defender stats don't really do
poor.
It.
I mean, this is his attacking stats, but not great. But if watching him come on, the drive, the verve, just as I say, the lift, you could feel the lift at home. Let alone onto, like he was a danger, pulling players around. But I do want to say, you've jumped to the subs. The second half was an improvement way before the subs. I don't attribute the improvement to the subs either. I think the second half, we were calmer. We were passing it around a bit more confidently. We were way more assured in possession. Odebrecht had a couple of dribbles, showed really what he can do, got in the box, and I think hopefully more time with him out on the... I know I've raved about him loads, but again, it's just more proof. He had 2 successful dribbles out of 4, 50%. I mean, that doesn't sound great, but he got 2 good opportunities.
You said to me earlier, Jake, when we were talking before we came on air, you want to see a little bit more from Odebrecht.
I did as well.
Yeah, I was expecting 2 out of 4, yes, but I was expecting the 4 bit to be higher. He didn't actually attempt to beat Nunes on the outside. Most of the time he sort of went and then he cut back inside and played the ball. Yeah. And I was expecting...
That's probably confidence and a lack of minutes maybe. But
yeah, maybe. But I just thought Nunes is a midfielder playing at right back. Yeah. Odebrecht is this fantastic dribbler who takes players on and beats them. I just thought that was a matchup that was made for him. And maybe it's because the game plan wasn't to kind of get crosses in because Tell's not really a striker. Maybe it was sort of that kind of thinking. I'm not sure. But I was I don't want to say I was expecting more from him because it's hard. It's his first start since coming back from injury in September. But I just thought that seemed like a more obvious ploy for me.
Yeah, I think you're right. We have a comment there from George, I think. George Pena. Yeah. It looked a bit nervous. No, I agree. I think the first half the team wasn't fantastic. And then with that second half improvement, he improved with it. Would have liked to have seen a bit more, but I think he had a good few progressive runs. He looks so assured on the ball, which is something we don't have with Son.
Even in that little cameo against Johnson. Man United, he played 5 minutes and you could already see.
We've spoiled about it for a long time. He makes the ball stick compared to someone like Johnson, Son, Tell. And I think it's a really good showing from him. 67 minutes after his hamstrings exploded, he had to have them reattached. Like, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, and he's. I'm surprised he's back already. I think the first rumours were mid-March.
Yeah.
Really happy to see him play. Maddison was excellent again. Really looks like he's found some form because I do think he's been up and down. My man of the match for us was Bergwijn. Someone on Twitter I saw moaning about how the commentators pronounce his name when it's technically correct, but oh well.
So I didn't go last night because I was for my daughter's birthday, and we have Swedish cousins, and they came over, and we were talking about, like we do with Frida, like how good Sweden are at the moment going forward. Isak, Gyökeres, and
Kulusevski,
Elanga. But his kids were talking about Bergwijn.
Yeah,
they love Bergwijn,
not Bergwijn.
The other, not Bergwijn.
By the way,
they say Bergwijn.
It says George, but it might be Jorge.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah,
Jorge.
No accent there.
I wasn't sure. Portuguese.
But the Swedes are very excited about Bergwijn.
They are. We heard it from Frida before, just as we signed him.
Yeah.
They were literally, and you can tell though. Remind me, he's 19.
19. Just turned 19.
And coming from a low league.
Coming from a low league, he's not even. I mentioned him already, Joe, who I went with last night. I think he has seen him play in the flesh, but he said to me, he's just not afraid. He's not afraid on the ball. He's not afraid to even take people on down that left channel that I think he found himself in a couple of times. And okay, maybe the end product isn't always there, but you've got to have that confidence to start with and just know that you back yourself, and he's got that already.
I just like that he'll take the ball wherever on the pitch.
Absolutely.
He completes around 50 passes a game, which is really good numbers. He had 2 out of 4 successful dribbles, but also one thing you can't really get in the stats available to you per game, I think, as a fan, unless you're paying, is like progression. I think he had a number of progressive runs up the pitch that don't involve dribbling a player. 3 out of 4 accurate long balls. He was never tackled, like dispossessed. One is 7 out of 11 duels.
That's quite key because he's not just a dribbly, flicky midfielder. He's combative.
He's a real, as I've said before, he reminds me of Modric in ways. And look, if he gets to those heights, thrilled. If he gets half of those heights,
if he gets that age,
39, still banging in volleys from 40 at 35 yards.
I think Bergwijn started the season.
Oh, so you've already sold him to Real Madrid, okay?
But
he could be that player. Genuinely, he looks like. I'm always one who doesn't like to get hyped
the boot as well.
Yeah, he's got it all. I don't like to get hyped up by players because ultimately they don't become Modric and Bale. It doesn't happen. But he does look like an absolute fireman.
But if he performs like Ipswich, which I think he actually was man of the match, not Spence, and if he performs like last night every game, then you've got an excellent player regardless. And start of the season, I think he was rough. Loves the yellow card. Like I really worried about his tackles. That seems to have shifted a bit. Seems to have got a bit smarter.
I think that was him showing people that he's not going to be a soft touch as well.
Yeah, and I think he's adjusted to the league really, really well. And him and Gray, we've just seen their growth throughout the season, seen them improve and get confident. And I'm thrilled with him.
I tell you what, there is a club that has signed a lot of players in the last couple of years, where the club that people are calling the place where players go to die.
Galatasaray.
That's different. There's been a lot of players, young players, who have not done it at Manchester United. And, say what you want about the club structure and the management, but Archie Gray playing out of position, Lucas Bergwijn have come and so far have probably progressed, but at the very least lived up to some of the hype that they've shown.
I do wonder
since they arrived. And that can't be underestimated.
No, but I do wonder how much they would have played if we weren't littered with injuries.
Yeah. Well, then maybe
they've taken an opportunity.
Yeah, but also, exactly. I mean, some of these guys, look at some of the signings that that United have made and the players haven't.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's part of that is talent ID. And okay, yes, everybody knew Archie Gray was a good player, but you still got to put your money where your mouth is. And as I've said before, in the last, I don't know who makes the signings these days, and it's definitely changed because obviously Paratici was doing it.
And Johan Langer.
Johan Langer, friend of the show. And
hope so.
Yeah. Where'd that come from?
Did we have him on?
Johan Langer?
Who did you have a chat with?
We didn't have the sporting director of Spurs on.
No, you had a chat with someone from the club, didn't you?
What are you talking about?
Have I got that? Have I made that up?
What pod have you been on?
Maybe it's another one.
Who got Langer? That'd be good, wouldn't
it? I just think that I've said this before that in the last 5 or 6 years we've had more hits than misses in the transfer market.
I'm still thinking about who you had on.
I'll look it up. I'll tell you. Who have I confused him with? Yeah, I think we've had more hits than misses in the transfer window in the last 5 or 6 years. And I think, at a time when we've been struggling, I think that sometimes gets a bit overlooked. Think of all the signings that we made. We've joked about it before in the 90s and the 2000s. Some real, low budget, poor players who are now like the ridicule players. When you laugh about signings over the years, there haven't been many in the last five
Hello,
or so years.
Tramezzani.
Exactly. Yeah, poor guy. Exactly. So
Clinton and G.
Yeah.
Never played.
God.
That was a weird
Oh,
one.
that annoyed. So I don't think we've got the WhatsApp section, but Spiro calling Odebrecht French winger.
He was poking you there.
He was. I mean, he caught Gary easy. I was like,
Ollie Spiro went fishing in our comments last night.
I was straight in there with the fishing emoji. I was like, no, you're not doing it. Not doing it to me.
All right, talking about young players that may or may not have impressed so far, we do need to have that conversation about Tell. Let's be honest. Disclaimer, absolutely. 19-year-old said it last week against Ipswich, who probably isn't a centre forward.
No, he's definitely not a centre forward.
Definitely not a centre forward.
Or not a centre forward for our style.
Yeah, well, coming into this team, playing up front in the Premier League, the biggest league of all, is impossible really for him. He should be a substitute winger, probably. Like last night, it could have been a game if we had centre forwards where he starts, having been on the bench for 5 weeks. We've got this option to buy him for 50 million. What I've seen so far, again, disclaimer, not playing him is probably his best position. Do we, with Odebrecht, with Son, do we need, from what we've seen so far, early days, but he's not got long, we've got how many league games left? 10.
Yeah.
And however long we go in the Europa League. But if Solanke comes back, he might not play much. We need to see it a little bit more.
Well, we need to see it. We need to see him played as a winger.
Yeah.
That's the more basically.
I want to see him face up against a fullback.
I don't think you can ask. I don't think we can ask him for much more playing with his back to goal as a number 9. I think the only way we can form any opinion on him as to whether he should stay or not is if he's going to get a run of games playing from the left. And that's it. And if he doesn't get that, then we can't keep. I don't see how we can keep him. I mean,
they'll know what he's doing in training as well.
I was about to say we don't know what he's doing in training, but you assume in training he's not being played on the left because in the matches they want him played through the middle.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they will be able to tell in training whether how good a player he is. And they will know in the club. They will probably be able to form an opinion as to if he's a good enough player for them to want to keep him. But on the pitch, in the games where it matters, we'll be surprised if they. Will we be surprised if they keep him if he doesn't get to play as a winger, or may they just look at him and go, actually, we've seen enough in training to believe that we want him here next season.
Listen, yeah,
I think there's big talent there.
Who knows?
I think there's a big talent there.
Obviously a talent, yeah.
Again, we've just raved about Bergwijn and Gray, and I mentioned Bergwijn was rough at the start of the season. It's taken him 6-7 months to get to a place where.
But he's playing in his natural position.
He is, and Tell. I mean, that could be. I think we had it was Kevin Hatchard saying that could be a question mark that Mars tear through his career where his position is.
Right.
Tell, and I want to see him on the right. That's probably absolutely not his preferred side, but
so you want him played out of position as well?
Well, only because I think we've got Son, Odebrecht, Moore that all play left, and unless one of them is going to play on the right, I think maybe Odebrecht could play there. Then I'm not sure where he fits. Tell isn't going to get those 6 months, unfortunately, to adjust because we Solanke's out, Richarlison's out, and we need a forward now. He could be amazing. When Ange was a Celtic manager, their striker, I can't remember his name. I don't know if it's Kyogo.
Yeah.
He used to get about 10 touches a game.
Yeah, but you can't compare anything to Celtic.
You can't. But my point is that Ange's style doesn't necessarily play for the strikers to be as heavily involved. I think we get it with Solanke and Richarlison. We really value their hold-up play. Yeah. And I do think we've worked that into the game, but it's never the be-all, end-all of the system, is the hold-up play of a striker. Although I think in the Premier League it's really, really important. You know, when Jermaine Defoe wasn't playing as a lone striker holding up the ball, was he? There's styles to strikers. I think if you can get him in behind or get him balls in the box more often.
So our style doesn't suit him, do you think?
I think at the moment we're not creating enough for him. We're not getting him the opportunities in the box to shoot. I think in his first couple of games he created them himself. But he's not really had the opportunity to do that either. I think a centre-back will know if they get into the back of him, he's 19, he's quite skinny.
Yeah, he's not holding it.
Yeah. He's not a man yet. They can push him off the ball quickly. I think when he gets time on the ball, you see his confidence. If we want to pay that 50 million in the summer, then fair enough. I like the club seen something. At this moment in time, if you ask me how I'd feel if we did it, I'm kind of indifferent to it. I think there's a player that it could be. I wouldn't be mad if we just didn't do it.
Yeah.
Hopefully he can kick on and score a couple goals by the end of the season. I think we need to give him time.
Oh, for sure.
If anyone's hounding him, if you're out there hounding him on Twitter, you're hounding out children. Maybe.
Well, it's not even that. You're not thinking about what you're saying because you're only forming an opinion on him based on the matches that he's played for us.
Well, that is all you can base it on.
Yeah, but no. But that's the thing. I don't agree. I think I agree with you. I think if the club have seen something in training, seen him train every day, seen how he is, good attitude, right kind of player, fantastically skilled, naturally gifted, all this kind of thing. If that's what the club have seen and they want to spend the money on him, I'm kind of with that. What I won't be with is if he's then on the bench next season and then brought on as the sort of Solanke replacement. If he's kept at the club as a winger, I'm all for it if that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
If he's not. If we sell Richarlison, Tell can't be the backup striker.
Correct.
100%.
Yeah.
But Pilcher's got it all figured out. Send him back, flog Johnson and buy Cunha and a number 6, get Richie off the books and go for Mateta.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
I'll take that.
Thank you,
just one more thing on last night before I drop you some stats. When Werner came on, which I thought was weird, he's been biffed out of the Europa League squad. He's not going to be here next year. Were they booing that substitution?
Maybe they were booing something and then they clapped him. So if they were booing him, they started and then clapped him.
I don't think they were booing him.
No, they're booing the change for Werner.
I think
they're not booing Werner specifically.
They weren't booing Werner. They were booing, who is it that came?
Madison
coming on.
Yeah, but I don't think they were booing Madison.
No, so they're booing the situation. Why are you bringing on
Because what
Werner
happened was there was boos and then there was claps. So I think it was like pissed that the sub was being made.
But we'll be nice to
Werner.
We'll support the players.
Yeah, we'll support the player onto the pitch.
Daniel Pincus asks, where's Jonathan David? It's a weird one, because I think he's out of contract.
He's probably run off somewhere.
There were rumours lingering for a while that we were really trying to get him on a pre-contract agreement for ages. I think loads of clubs will be looking at Jonathan David. He's quality.
He won't be someone that we
Can I just say the other thing that occurred to me again, the sort of Tell situation, just generally the striker situation. Werner came on and it was the third different player playing up front because Werner went through the mid.
No, Werner went left. Kulusevski went up front.
No, Kulusevski went up front when he came on.
Yeah,
and then when Werner came on, Son went through the middle and Kulusevski played in the 10.
Wasn't Son already on?
Yeah. No. Son had come on, hadn't he? Because Son didn't start.
Son came on.
Yeah, because I remember, because he came on and he said to Son, you go in, because I was looking at him because we were wondering. So that's our third different striker in the game. We've had Tell, Kulusevski and then Son playing through the middle in the game. Where's the continuity?
Yeah, that's a problem.
I think it's a lack of when just
Scarlett
I'm not blaming. I'm saying this is the problem. This is again, which is why I think I don't know what the general feeling is after last night amongst the fan base. I think we always have to remember that what we are comparing against perhaps is what we would be expecting from our full strength starting 11.
Yeah.
I think anything anyone says about Danso, Gray, Tell, Odebrecht, the way we attacked, it's great. And it's nice to be able to kind of comment on the team that we've seen playing. But ultimately, these guys shouldn't even be playing in those positions.
I mean, I think
on the pitch.
I would rather Son...
If everyone was fit.
I'd rather Son or Kulusevski up front against Man City than Dane Scarlett. I don't care.
I'm talking about for 5 minutes.
I don't care if he's a natural centre forward.
We were saying this. Why wouldn't you bring on Scarlett? Why wouldn't you bring on Scarlett instead of Werner though?
I mean, yeah, it's good, but you have to for all the bad Werner's been for us this season. That's still an international footballer who he has had bright spots. His finishing has been a problem for Werner, and what disappointed me this season is the rest of his game hasn't been great either. But we look back to last season and moments. One thing he could do is he can get you up the pitch. And he get assists, he can get chances. So I'm not really mad at that. One thing I really did
I sort of mean, just not on that point, but just on current form. Like when Scarlett, they've only had similar amounts of time at the end of games, and Scarlett's come on, and has he got 1 goal and 1 assist in the 3 or 4 games?
Assist.
Yeah, true.
Don't bring that up again.
I don't even mean in terms of the way the fans feel about Werner in general. I just think if you base it on the last few opportunities that the two have been given, Scarlett's come on and done quite well. Werner hasn't. So
you're convincing me.
Werner and Werner fans couldn't have much complaints that somebody else has been given the nod.
Are there Werner fans? I don't think there are anymore. Again,
I'm not really a Werner fan.
I
was really mad we had that.
We don't need to talk about him anymore.
But, Joe Mack, am I on LSD? I don't know, mate. It's only 10:53 in the morning.
We've annoyed one of our listeners again, this time on Werner, but I'm bored of talking about Timo Werner. He's not in the Europa League squad. He's not going to be here next season. So just to wrap up the game, second half much better. We had 9 shots to their 5. They only had 1 on target. We missed a few chances. They had a goal disallowed, which was silly. For your XG fans, we had 1.28. They had 0.17. James,
where did you get that from?
From Optimate.
Huh. All I've got here is our 1.3 to their 2.
I withdraw.
2.1.
I totally apologise. That was second half.
Okay.
Second half XG, correct. 1.33, played 2.12.
If you're going to give us stats, can they at least be correct?
Well, I was still talking about the second half before I was rudely interrupted. That's my excuse. Look, we lost. James, you said, I don't want to go too deep into this. Losing to City is not such a bad thing. It's not a vintage Man City side. I'm sure you'll agree.
Yeah, but yes, but they were there for the.
Of course,
they were there for the taking last
by all
night.
accounts, the second half was better. And
the second half was better, but that again kind of brings me back to the selection. City were there for the taking.
Correct.
And the other thing that I haven't yet mentioned that I thought before the game, based on the first game, when you see Kusanov lining up at right centre-back alongside Nunes at right-back, you're thinking of that first game at City where we pressed them and we created at least one of the, or maybe 2 of the goals early doors from their mistakes at the back. And we've had it when they came to us, was it last season or the season before, where we pressed them high up the pitch.
Kane's record goal.
That was it, Kane's record goal.
Højbjerg nicked it.
And you're thinking between Kusanov and Nunes, surely we need, if we can get at them early doors, then we would be in with a big chance in this game. Another reason why I fancied either Kulusevski and Son to play, because you know you're going to get that from them more than Odebrecht and Johnson.
It just wasn't the game for me to get so
angry
about. But I was annoyed. I'm always annoyed we lost.
Yeah,
but it's still City 4th in the league.
Yeah.
We are 13th.
Yeah.
You know, and I think overall it was a good performance, and honestly a shame that we didn't get something. There were a few good chances where we could have scored. That Odebrecht back post, which he was stretching for. The Sarr header, which I don't think he knew a lot about, but it was a really hard chance, but maybe it could have gone in. I think the biggest chance was the Son near post. I think he's got to do better. That was the one that for me he's got to put that away.
And he slipped on the rebound. He nearly even got to the rebound as well.
That one was the one for me. I think he's got to do better.
The one with where Tell was diving in and then Odebrecht missed it at the back post. He didn't quite think it was going to come to him, Odebrecht, did he?
I think as well, it's like, do you remember the Defoe chance against City years ago where he said, I'm just too short?
That was like Gaz a year in 96.
I felt like it was a bit like that.
No, I don't think he was too short on that one.
Not quite there.
I know what you mean.
He didn't moving it on. I'm going to use some stats because I like to drop some negative stats on this pod in my agenda against Ange, which apparently I have. First time
Who says that?
Oh, people.
Your wife.
You're buzzing, mate, with the Everton.
He has put a picture of Ange on the dartboard in the other room.
Not true. We've not scored a second half goal since the last time you went, Jake. We've not scored a second half goal since in the league since 6-3 against Liverpool. That's 5 matches, our worst run since 2006. If Ollie Spiro was in here today, he'd be telling us why that is. Something about not getting back in games.
No, doesn't he blame the board?
Oh yeah, that was it. Okay, this is a thing. 7 home defeats for Tottenham now. Our joint most in a 20-team Premier League season. Also 96-97. You know, we had our friend Peter in the comments laughing at us and telling us we don't know anything about football. One suspects Peter lives thousands and thousands of miles away and is a big fan of Ange Postecoglou. That is fine. That is your want.
Are you saying he's in Australia?
Yeah, I am. He's calling it a rebuild. I have a thing about rebuilds. Every managerial change is a rebuild. You know, Everton are on a rebuild because Moyes has taken over. Southampton are on a rebuild. It ain't going to last. Every change is a rebuild. This is a rebuild.
I'm not sure I agree with that.
Okay, that's
Everton
fine.
aren't really on a rebuild. They just brought in Moyes to make them to be better than under Dyche. There's not. What's the rebuild?
Everton are on a rebuild.
I agree. Everton Stadium is on a rebuild.
Exactly. That's what
Everton have been so bad for so long. They're just on a build.
This isn't okay. I'm not saying this isn't. Very good.
All right,
I'm not saying this isn't a rebuild. This isn't something new. Rebuilds happen all the time in football. Yeah, we have players under 22. Yeah, we have players who are injured. We have lost 14 Premier League matches this season. Again, you'll shout at, not you specifically. Do it. People will shout about injuries. Think about the games we've lost when we've had those injuries. Ipswich at home. Wolves. In fact, Ipswich at home, we didn't have injuries. Leicester at home, drawn with Wolves. Newcastle at home. Newcastle, a good side. You can lose to them on any occasion.
There's so many unacceptable results.
There's unacceptable results. We have lost 14 games this season. I did have something for you. One more defeat would be our worst since 08-09. I'd say we're tracking for maybe 17, 18 defeats. We've not lost 19 games since 2004. Like, this is not... We're out of both cups. Our eggs are now very much in the Europa League basket. It's a dangerous place to be.
The Bilbao basket, eh?
It's in the Bilbao basket. Yes, it's a rebuild. I don't think in a rebuild, and people will chuck that Arteta graphic out again. I don't think you should be 13th in a rebuild. There are 5 points between 3rd and 10th. 3rd and 10th. Maybe 6 now after last night. 6 points between 3rd and 10th. We're not in that conversation. Talk all you want about injuries. Tottenham Hotspur Football Club should not be losing 7 home games, should not be losing 14 games by the end of February. That in the league only, by the way, adding all the others, that is not good enough. And you can support Ange all you want from London to Melbourne. Something has to change. And the only way it's going to change, in my opinion, is if he needs some work. The squad needs work. There are worse teams than us. I've said it for months and months and months. If I gave you the Brentford squad, the Bournemouth squad, the Fulham squad, the Palace squad, they're all above us in the league. That is not on. I know we've lost to a decent City team, not vintage. Forget losing to City. When we lost to Leicester, to Ipswich, drew with Leicester, lost to Palace, I said, these are all crap results because you will lose to the big teams. And then they become a problem. And we've now lost 14 games in the league and I'm fed up with it.
I thought Gary was in the Lake District.
As Luke Barrett says, I'm fed up of losing.
I thought Gary was in the Lake District.
I don't get to rant much on him, maybe because Gary's in the chair doing it.
Do you know what a big problem is with that Ange's football for us at the minute is we don't draw.
We don't draw.
We've got 3 less wins than Chelsea, which is bad. But everyone above us has at minimum 2 more draws. So that's not very much. But that's only 3 sides. Arsenal, 9 draws. Forest, 6 draws. Chelsea, 7 draws. Brighton, 10 draws. Fulham, 9. Villa, 9. We've drawn 3 games.
But it ties in with the just losing by 1 goal.
Yeah, turn those into draws.
Right, and Ollie Spurry said it. I can't quite remember. We should get him on the phone. Right, you've lost 14 games. Just a better manager with a better squad, maybe, but let's say better manager. You turn 14 of those defeats into a couple of wins, a couple of draws, and you're back in. You're probably on 46 points, and you're back in that conversation of the 6 points between 3rd and 10th.
Are you back in the mix?
If you're back in the mix.
If we had 7 draws, we'd still be like 11th. But
Peter says we had 12 players out for 2 months. Let's park the conversation about why we've had those injuries. Are you taking
Peter on?
Yeah, because he's one of the people in the comments today that
that has got your goat.
He's got my goat, but he's doing that thing where it's all just... It's no one's fault but the injuries. Rubbish. We've had injuries, so deal with it better. Defend better. Play differently. Don't lose at home to Leicester.
don't have a style of play that causes so many injuries.
Yeah, I'm almost saying park that because we don't really know the truth.
We don't know the truth.
We don't know the truth. And again, you can have injuries. Bournemouth have got 9 muscle injuries. Yeah, they lost at home to Wolves. They had 10 men. Lost at Brighton. It may be starting to fall apart a little bit for them, but they've got suspensions now. They still dealt with it. They're still way clear of us in the league. Teams deal with injuries. I don't think we're dealing with it. I don't think we've dealt with it well.
If you're going to acknowledge, yes, perhaps, but if you're going to acknowledge the teams getting injured and like Bournemouth and falling away and that kind of thing, you have to acknowledge that we've also had to play in Europe, which is a fact. And the fact that we've had injuries has made it all worse. Perhaps if we'd been just in the Premier League with all these for a start, we may not have got as many injuries, but even if we'd had the same number of injuries without playing European football, I would fancy that we would have won. We wouldn't have necessarily lost 14
Honestly,
games.
That's
fair. That's fair. That is fair.
That is absolutely fair.
There's a very black and white argument there. As soon as you say change it up, as with where are they? I think I've lost their message. Collective Sartori.
Read it out.
It says mediocrity central, park the bus, play for draws, you'll win trophies that way. Many managers have won trophies that way.
Correct.
I don't want that style of football. And it's not about parking the bus. It's not about that. It's about trying to find a system in attack that's less intense, that allows your players to, one, not get tired so easily or injured. They're going to get tired for minutes, but hopefully not pick up more injuries. We play the most intense football in world football. In and out of possession. And it's easy to see that's unsustainable. We had John McKenzie on the other week who said not only is it unsustainable, our out of possession game, but also we're asking a lot of players, a lot of yards to cover. And it is dangerous for them. And then there's the number of games you play. I've been saying it for ages, and I think we've seen a little bit more of it in recent times. Bit more settled possession, bit more time to create chances, patience, calmness, not back and forth. As quick as the ball goes forward, the quicker it'll come back. Don't have to be part of the bus. And I don't think we'll ever be part of the bus with this manager. And I hope we're never part of the bus again. We had it with Conte, we had it with Jose. Don't want it back.
There's just a balance.
I like Ange way more than Jose and Conte. I've said it before, they would have never had us in this position.
Do you know what I'm looking forward to? Bilbao.
Confident.
Gary's already booked his flight.
Oh, go on, Gary.
Look,
Gary booked his flight at the beginning of the season.
Well, he's not stupid. Collective Sartori in response is, we need time for the manager and players to grow. I get it.
We're an outlier. We're an outlier in style of we're the most intense in possession, most intense out of possession. If you are an outlier, is there a reason no other teams are doing it? Well, you have to think: if we're an outlier with intensity and no other one's doing it, maybe there's a reason. And it's taken. We got the injuries in November. Everyone else who's struggling with injury problems, it's taken them to February, to get. Chelsea have got 8. Other teams have injuries now. We had them months ago.
Yeah. Can I just say, Ange, what you say there about us being a bit of an outlier? Someone pointed out to him in his presser that we've got this plus whatever goal difference and we've scored the second most goals in the league. And he said, oh yeah, this happened to me at Yokohama Marinos when I finished 9th. So I looked it up. They finished 9th with 69 goals scored and a quite a healthy, conceded quite a few, but quite a healthy plus positive goal difference. I don't think if you're finishing 9th with the second highest goals scored, that's much of a positive. You're doing something right. You're going forward. You're scoring goals. Great. You're forgetting about what's going on behind you. I don't think that's a positive for me. To finish 9th, scoring so many goals, I'd be frustrated that we're so good going forward, but we've completely forgotten about the important stuff. How do you win it? Best defence wins the leagues every year. End of story. And I'm not talking about parking the bus, but the best defence will pretty much win the league. People are getting wound up. I won't say I'm getting wound up, telling us all we do.
You're getting wound up.
No, but people telling us all we do is screech on here. We're trying to dissect the situation. We've lost 14.
You want me to shout? I'll really shout.
Yeah, I will.
There's no place for on social media now. There's no place for
nuance,
middle ground.
There's nothing.
There's no middle ground.
But I will say this pod, and I don't disrespect other pods, but there are other pods that don't give you nuance, and there are some that we are not the only one that does. Trust me.
A lot do more with tactics, and some do less, and some
don't take it from us. He came on last week, this week, Sim, and said that we...
Tottenham social media guru.
Absolutely, he said that he loves listening to us, watching us. Hi, Sim.
I'm frustrated we've lost 14. I can come on... It'd be very boring if I came on here and went, well, we've lost 14 games, but we've had injuries. Let's talk about it next year. See you in August. I'm not going to do that.
See you in Bilbao.
We've lost 14 games this season just in the league. Not good enough. And we're here to dissect it. Again, it's a game of opinions, but don't come in here and tell me that this is screeching. I'm pissed off we lost again. And when we won 3 in a row, I gave them a little bit of praise for winning it, but it's not enough to just win 3 games in a row and go, sorted.
Oh, yeah, great. The reply was, imagine if it starts to work. Oh, I love it to start to work. I would absolutely love it. I really like Ange.
Yeah.
I want him to be our coach, but I am probably leaning on... At the moment, we might need a change at the end of the season. It's going to take a lot for me to be
James,
Ange.
We all hope. I've said it a million times over. We all hope it changes.
Inshallah.
And I've taken the weird. I've taken the Gary role today because
passionate rants are needed.
Passionate rants
this
are needed.
This is not the game to lose.
I'm not losing it about this game. I'm not losing it about this game.
This is about the season, not the game.
But this is what I said.
I agree with you.
This is what I said, Collective Sartori, when we lost to Leicester, drew at Leicester. I said it early in the season. Those are the games you can't afford. Tottenham Hotspur can't afford to be dropping all these points against lesser teams because when it comes to the big games, it adds to an already stacked up number of defeats and bad performance. And that's why you end up 13th.
Shall I give the positive spin? Try to.
Quickly, we've got to go.
Okay, so... I think second half yesterday and the last couple of games with players coming back looks really promising. Love Odebrecht. I'm actually happy Johnson's back because he can put goals away. Maddison's form looks as good as it's been since he first joined. Yeah. Hopefully we see more rotation, fit players. If we have a fit team and if we had it all season, I think we would have been higher up in the league. And no doubt about that. I think we would have been top 8 probably. I think we were, as much as I think the style is the reason for a lot of injuries. I also think some unlucky. Odebrecht's hamstrings blew up in a month and a half. Like, what can you do? Bentancur was out for his interview. Solanke did his knee. Some things are unfortunate, some aren't, and some are just injury-prone players. Richarlison's been injury-prone before Ange. Yeah. So there are some other factors at play here. If Ange can sort out the press, it's too intense, it's too much, and we do it for an entire game. It has to be smarter. It needs to be more intelligent. If he can sort that out, great. And
be given some more players, some more adults in the room, as we've said.
And there's a lot of things about chance creation. People are like, like if you need the players to do this, is it good? It's like, well, no, because if a manager could go and make a team of players do whatever they want and make goals, then you'd have Accrington Stanley winning the Premier League. Football, you also need quality players to make things happen. It's not all on the system. So as we get our players back, a fit team, not players running through mud because they can't move their legs anymore because they're playing 90 minutes every 2 days, I think we'll see an improvement. And I do think there could be light at the end of the tunnel. I'm not convinced wholly.
That's where we're at.
But if you want the positive spin, I think that's what it is.
There are positives to be had, like you said, with the players back. We all hope it works. Nobody wants more managerial change. I don't want it. If it happened, I might be like, okay, like I say, from London to Melbourne, we all support Tottenham. Some people may support Ange more than they support Tottenham. That's fine. That's fine. But we all want one thing. Regardless of whether you're doing it from an Ange perspective or a Tottenham perspective, we want Tottenham to succeed. If it happens under this guy, I'll be the first to hold my hand up and say, okay, it worked, well done. But like you've just said, James, I think if it's going to work, for it to work, and we discussed it with John McKenzie, things have to change. We got to go, mainly because I'm going to get a parking ticket in about 3 minutes. Are we coming back Monday? We discussed having Monday off because we haven't got a game to talk about, but we haven't really talked about RZ. We might be back Monday. Keep an eye on the socials. We'll have a think about that. But we don't have a game this weekend because we're not in the FA Cup. So next game is RZ away Thursday week. We'll definitely be back post-match there on Friday morning. Look out for us on Monday. Maybe we'll be here. Maybe we won't. Jake, thank you so much for joining us.
What a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Thank you.
James, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I've been in the Gary Diamond role today. Sorry if I've angered you, and thank you for angering me.
It's part of the format. There has to be a passionate rant every episode.
Yeah, he's going to go and crash his car.
What do we know about the game, eh?
Beware of him on the roads.
Gentlemen, have a good weekend. As George Pena says, enjoy your weekend. We will see you next week. And up the Spurs.